It's a science fiction, western, comedy, action, adventure series that marveled at all the technological wonders of a future that it would never be a part of. And one of the most violent television shows that has ever been broadcast, or so the government would have you believe. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of the adventures of Brisco County Jr. The Adventures of Brisco County Jr. is a live-action television series that ran one season of 27 episodes from August of 1993 to May of 1994, poorly scheduled, maligned by the government, and ultimately overshadowed by the show in the very next time slot. Round about 1893, the legendary U.S. Marshal Brisco County has arrested 13 of the most notorious outlaws in all the West, including John Bly. Ever the righteous law enforcement officer, he's taking them to face a judge and jury instead of acting as executioner. But these outlaws have lived on the edge of death for their entire lives and will fight to the bitter end to escape the shackles of justice, which they do, much to the regret of Brisco County. Before the prison transport train can reach its final destination, Bly and his gang turn the tables on the marshal, killing him in a hail of vengeful bullets. The only thing delivered to the courthouse is a box with Brisco County's hat and gun. The West mourns a hero. 5 robber baron tycoons who control everything from the railroads to mining to the banks themselves have come together to address the murder of Brisco County and the threat to their own business operations. They direct their legal counsel, Socrates Pool, to hire a bounty hunter to finish the job that cost Brisco County his life. While there are several capable bounty hunters, Socrates hires a man who is a Harvard-educated lawyer, a scholar, by all accounts a man of refinement, elegance, and polish, and just so happens to be the son of Brisco County. He's Brisco County Jr., along with his horse Comet, off-and-on rival Lord Bowler, and the financial backing of the 5 robber barons. He aims to avenge his father's death by finishing what he started, rounding up all 13 outlaws and making sure this time they stand trial for their crimes or pay the ultimate price. But this time, there's a wild card that his father didn't have to deal with. A mysterious object called the Orb has been unearthed by rail workers. They used its supernatural power to break their chains and escape slavery. In the wrong hands, the power of the Orb would mean doom for all, but especially for Brisco County Jr. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below and use code GALAXY50 for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month of orders today. Summertime, summertime. Biking, hiking, swimming, camping. You're in the garden, you're in the hammock. It's the season for spending as much time outside, having fun, breathing fresh air, and not worrying about what you're going to cook for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Factor can help make summertime meals stress-free with fresh, never-frozen meals that are chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes so you can get back to the beach. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular selections like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Skip the grocery store's prep work and cooking fatigue. Discover more than 60 add-ons every week like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. Choose how many meals you want and when you want them. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. It's easy to switch between their brands to make your meal planning even easier. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code GALAXY50 for 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next box today. That's code GALAXY50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. In May of 1989, Paramount Pictures released Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which proceeded to make nearly $500 million at box offices around the world. Bob Greenblatt, who was an executive at Fox Broadcasting Company, reached out to the writers of the film to see if they would be interested in developing something like Indiana Jones, but for television. Those writers were Jeffrey Boehm and Carlton Cuse, although technically Boehm is the only one listed in the credits. See, just a few years earlier, the two started their own writing partnership to develop their own original films when Boehm suddenly landed the job to write Lethal Weapon 2 and shortly thereafter, The Last Crusade. Boehm wrote Lethal Weapon 2 and The Last Crusade with uncredited assistance from Cuse, while they put their dreams of independence on hold for 5 years with nothing but huge studio franchise checks and industry success to console them. When Greenblatt approached Boehm and Cuse, Fox was still a very young television network, but their stock was on the rise. In 1990, they already had 4 of their core series in place: Cops, Married with Children, America's Most Wanted, and The Simpsons. Greenblatt wanted to bring the energy, humor, and adventure of Indiana Jones to television on Fox as a series. Cuse was really excited to get back to writing for television. In fact, he did some research by watching a bunch of classic television serials. And lo, a secret was revealed to him. Nearly all of those classic television serials were either westerns or science fiction. According to a 2010 interview, he, quote, came up with this idea, at first just an intriguing title, The Adventures of Brisco County Jr., about a Harvard-educated bounty hunter who returns to the Old West to avenge the death of his father, who was the most famous lawman in the Old West. But doing a straight Western didn't seem fresh enough, so we added this whole science fiction serial element centered on this mysterious orb that conferred special powers to those who possessed it. Brisco County Jr. was a blending of both historically popular genres, Western and science fiction. It was always meant to be viewed through the lens of modern day. They weren't making a documentary. As Bohm put it in a 1993 interview, quote, "We want a show that takes the Western genre and adds a little topspin to it, just like the Wild Wild West did. We're trying to do that 90s fashion." Bohm and Hughes knew they were developing a show that needed to have Fox style. As long as a consistent and believable world were created, they felt free to make modern pop culture references or include anachronistic elements, especially in service of the science fiction themes and humor. Part of that was for storytelling purposes, but part of that was to make sure that gun violence wasn't a driving force for viewership. It was a Western after all, and there was going to be gunplay. But gun violence, and in particular television violence, were a growing concern with the US government. See, heading into the 90s, cable television had become an alternative to broadcast television. Cable networks weren't bound by the same restrictions as regular broadcast television, and broadcast television began to push the boundaries to compete. It became increasingly difficult for the government and parents to keep track of which channels and which programs were safe for kids. In 1990, Congress passed the TV Violence Act. This allowed broadcast and cable television networks to come together to find a solution where previously it would have been illegal for them to collude on any practices. The idea was for the industry to develop their own approach for voluntarily reducing the amount of violence on television. The TV Violence Act gave the television producers across the industry 3 years to figure it out, or Congress would do it for them. Despite the warning from Congress, those meetings didn't even start until December of 1992, just before the 3-year window closed. The result was an agreement by the major broadcast networks to limit the depiction of violence in entertainment programs, and ideally this would pressure cable networks to follow suit. However, there was no official government enforcement built into the legislation, so nothing changed. We'll come back to this. The creators and producers of Brisco County Jr. weren't concerned about Brisco County Jr. being considered violent because it was being developed as a family show. As Bohm put it, quote, "In the 2-hour pilot, Brisco doesn't even once have to shoot his gun. Our violence is cartoonish. There is no pain and suffering." That pilot kicked off with the introduction of Brisco County Sr., played by R. Lee Ermey. He was what the viewer might have imagined a legendary marshal from any other Western television series to be. Tough, hard-nosed, unflinching in his dedication to the law, with a reputation for always getting his man. Brisco County Jr. was a counter to his father, frequently talking his way in and out of situations. He was played by Bruce Campbell, fresh off his most recent turn as Ash Williams in 1992's Army of Darkness, the third film in the Evil Dead franchise after 1981's Evil Dead and 1987's Evil Dead 2. Everyone thought Bruce was going to be the next big thing, a guaranteed star, his face on every poster and billboard promoting the show. Sandy Grusho, an executive at Fox, said, quote, "If Campbell isn't the next big television star, I'll eat my desk." Campbell was joined by Christian Clemenson as Socrates Poole. He's the accountant stuck in the middle trying to carry out the business of the 5 robber barons while imploring Brisco County Jr. to keep all his receipts. Julius Carey, who everyone should know as Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem from the 1985 masterpiece Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. If you haven't seen it, go watch it right after this video. Played Lord Bowler, the sometimes rival, sometimes partner to Brisco County Jr. John Astin made frequent appearances as Professor Wickwire, giving off heavy Back to the Future 3 Doc Brown vibes.
This fall,
Here she comes.
there's a new name for adventure on television. Brisco County Jr.
You care to try me?
He's all action.
You're not an outlaw.
No.
He's all excitement. And he's about to bust loose into your living room. Welcome to the Wild West Fox style. And now, the series premiere of The Adventures of Brisco County Jr.
The Brisco County Jr. 2-hour pilot premiered on Fox Friday, August 27th, 1993 at 8 p.m., accompanied by an orchestral opening theme composed by Randy Edelman, one of those cases where the music that was delivered was more than the producers could have hoped for. So much so that the theme took on a life of its own in later years. NBC Sports used it during their Olympics coverage in 1996 and their World Series coverage in 1996 and 1997. As Edelman told the LA Times in 2002, quote, "It's got a very flowing melody, it's triumphant, and it has a certain warmth. And it has at the end of it what all television things like this have, a button, an ending flourish that works really well if they need to chop it down into a 15-second thing." The 2-hour pilot was rebroadcast Sunday, August 29th at 7 p.m. just in case anyone missed it on Friday, which was likely since Friday has typically been considered the day you schedule shows when you're trying to get rid of them. That said, both broadcasts put up excellent numbers in the most important demographic for that show for Fox, adults 18 to 49. The first episode continued the strong ratings. Fox was positive this was going to be a huge breakout show, even as ratings dropped after the first episode. Fox ordered a full season, bringing the total number of episodes to 27, and scheduled their new show, The X-Files, in the follow-up 9 p.m. slot in the hopes of carrying over the audience. Jeffrey Boehm decided to return to feature films to work on The Phantom. That left Hughes by himself as showrunner and head writer on Brisco County Jr. It was the beginning of a long tenure as a television creator and producer with lessons learned through the grind. Because Brisco was a weekly show with scripts written and shot in a week, that's hard to do, trust me. We do the same thing here, and we don't have to worry about training horses, handling explosives, or coordinating lunch schedules with dozens of crew members, and I still think about quitting every week.
Could Danny have been hallucinating? But if Dan was hallucinating, who ate house food?
The hours were long, the days were longer, the notes from executives at Fox were frequent and at times maddening. More science fiction, they said on Monday. Less science fiction, they said later on Monday. But the cast and crew weathered the storm with Hughes saying, quote, "I think we did a particularly good job of maintaining continuity with all the schizophrenic notes we were getting from the network." That said, near the middle of the season, they made a conscious effort to juggle fewer balls. They wrapped up the Orb subplot, and the show became a more traditional Western, focused on comedy and adventure. But that wasn't enough to keep viewers engaged, or maybe it was too much. Either way, viewers either didn't find it, or if they did and left, they didn't come back. Fox remained supportive. They knew they had a good, high-quality show, but also they couldn't deny the numbers. And while some blamed the Friday night time slot for its struggle, X-Files, airing just an hour later, persevered. Hughes and the rest of the production still didn't think they were going to be canceled. They fully expected a second season that saw Brisco County Jr. as the sheriff of a small town and didn't prepare a proper end-of-series finale for season 1. But heading into May of 1994, Brisco was near the bottom of the ratings chart for Fox programming, the 16th biggest show on Fox, 99th for overall programming, 10 spots behind The X-Files. The final episode aired May 20, 1994. In June, Fox made the call to cancel the series.
At some level, once you finish a season, there's always that chance. I knew that it was close. We were paired with the X-Files. I still thought that was a good combination, X-Files and Brisco. I thought that was a really good night of TV.
I was heartbroken. Really didn't find out how popular the show was until after it was canceled. And so that made it even harder.
All 27 episodes of Brisco County Jr. were released by Warner Home Video on DVD in 2006, packed with bonuses like commentary tracks from Bruce Campbell and Carlton Cuse, a documentary about the making of the series, and more. Today you can purchase it on a variety of streaming services, including here on YouTube. Brisco County Jr. was a victim of circumstances far beyond its control. Its cancellation after one season was in no way reflective of the quality of the production. Sure, the Friday night time slot was bad, always has been for broadcast television, but Fox had to put it somewhere. Bruce Campbell thought maybe the audience just wasn't ready for a Western, even if it was a clever, humorous, modern Western. Hughes was confident they could have run for years if they had just a little more time to grow their audience. But a cloud hung over the production from day one, the perception of violence. Not actual violence, mind you, but the hard data of violent acts per minute as calculated by the US government. No amount of contextualization was enough to satisfy what Congress and the FCC saw as a contributor to the overall problem of violence on television. In a December 1993 study conducted by Senator Byron Dorgan, Fox ranked #1 with more violent programs in a single week than the other 3 major networks combined, and Brisco County Jr. was one of the worst offenders along with Fox's Out on a Limb and ABC's Movie of the Week, Beverly Hills Cop. According to the parameters of the study, acts of violence on Brisco County ranged from shootings to fistfights to assaults with sticks or other makeshift weapons. They called Brisco County the bloodiest series. Hughes bristled at this conclusion and wrote an op-ed saying, quote, "In the 20 hours of Brisco County produced so far, blood has only appeared once, in one scene, in one episode. More important, the senator's study seems terribly misleading." During the survey week, our Briscoe episode featured a boxing match. The Senator's researchers must have counted every last punch, jab, and parry for us to supersede Beverly Hills Cop and appear at the top of his survey list. Hughes went on to cite examples of national publications like TV Guide, who ranked Briscoe right behind Roseanne in their fall survey of the best family shows on television. Family Life magazine ranked them at the top of their list for quality programs on network television for children. But Briscoe was already a target in the crusade to protect children from the abstract threat of violence on television. A victim itself on the way to the implementation of the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that introduced the television rating system and its coordination with the V-chip featured in newly manufactured televisions. When the series ended, Boehm was already back working on feature films, although The Phantom wasn't released until 1996. He wrote a few drafts for an unproduced Sergeant Rock movie based on the DC Comics character that, as of this video, has still not been produced. He passed away in 2000 from a rare lung disease at age 53. Hughes went on to develop Nash Bridges. That series ran 121 episodes over 6 seasons from 1996 to 2001. During the 6th season, he hired a young writer named Damon Lindelof, who would go on to write the pilot for Lost with J.J. Abrams, who left development to work on Mission Impossible 3. Lindelof went back to Hughes, who agreed to become co-showrunner on Lost after Abrams' departure. Bruce Campbell has done a ton of stuff since Briscoe, including a 111-episode run as Sam on Burn Notice from 2007 to 2013. He returned to the Evil Dead franchise on television, in video games, and as a producer in the 2013 remake of Evil Dead and the standalone 2023 Evil Dead Rise. Unfortunately, the scourge of violence on television is part of Brisco County Jr.'s legacy. 30 years later, it is laughable that it was even part of the conversation. Today, there's more realistic violence in an ad for Allstate Insurance.
Here, take a free shot. Go ahead, knock
You're
yourself
about to get served.
Seriously?
Not that it matters. The landscape of television has changed so much that even if Briscoe were on today, it would likely go to Netflix and end up getting canceled exactly where it got canceled the first time, at the end of one season. And I want to personally take a moment to apologize to all the writers, producers, actors, designers who worked on the series. I was aware of Brisco County Jr. when it originally aired, but I was one of those people perfectly in the demographic for this show that was busy on Friday nights. I worked at a movie theater, and not working Friday nights was not an option. I didn't get a chance to watch it until, I hate to say this, until this week. I know. I said this was an apology. Bruce Campbell gives a masterclass of exactly the kind of Bruce Campbell acting that I love when he's just playing Ash Williams. Julius Carey as Lord Bowler is incredible. I'm not a huge movie or TV viewer, so I never even realized he was in anything after Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. I've been on the internet since 1994, and I never bothered to check. This is growth. I'm owning this. If it weren't for me and thousands of other people like me, maybe Briscoe makes it to that 2nd season, and we're talking about it like a show that ran 218 episodes over 11 seasons, like The X-Files. Instead, we're left with a tale that was telegraphed in the opening moments of the pilot, a righteous series taken down by unjust violence against it, a show that never lived up to the legend of the serials that came before it, a world that mourns the loss of a hero, Brisco County Jr. I did it. I feel like I did it by myself this time. I don't know why. Thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very, very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Several different tiers to address your specific Secret Galaxy content needs. Check out our new Secret Galaxy merch shop at secretgalaxy.shop. All merchandise is physically in stock and ready to ship. Links to all of this in the description below. And let us know in the comments down below if you watched Brisco County Jr. back when it originally aired, or if this is the first you're hearing about it. I really, genuinely regret not watching it when it originally aired. It would have been one of my favorite shows of all time, easy. My one additional view every week wouldn't have changed anything for the show, or likely for the careers of Bruce Campbell or Julius Carey. In my defense, I did work at a movie theater from 1992 to 1994, and I did watch Army of Darkness in 1992 about 100 times. Consider me a Brisco County Jr. fan for life. From now on. It doesn't work retroactively. Cut.